Okay, so let me start by telling you a bit about the communications subgroup, what we've done so far. We've set up a dedicated email address, and we have received various emails, questions, enquiries, so that does seem to be working quite well. We've sent out various emails with updates and news, for example, these events, the launch event, the news flash, which came out last week. And we've been doing this via district administrators until we set up a new database of contacts for the new district. We're currently just doing this through the district administrators, and they're filtering it down to circuits and to churches. We've planned this series of webinars so you can come along and have the opportunity to hear about how the amalgamation is going and opportunity to ask questions. I keep saying that. So I hope you've got some questions for later. With a member of the group, Tori, she recorded a video with James Tebbert introducing himself as the new nominated chair. We've advertised the launch event, which will take place on the 31st of August. And you've obviously had the information because you're here tonight, which is great, but we just ask that you please circulate this as wide as you can through your own churches and contacts. And what we're currently doing, well as the webinars that we're on with at the moment, we're starting work on a new district website, and we'll shortly be producing a video with Phil Goff, who is the nominated district secretary for ministry and vocations. And the next steps for our group will be to look at a Facebook page and other social media platforms, and also we're looking at, well, we are setting up an admin and IT group, which will look at what will be needed going forward for the new district. So I think that's a bit about what our group has been doing. And now I'm going to hand over to James Tebbert, who's with us tonight, and he is from the Hubs and Governance subgroup. So I will hand over to James. Thank you, James.
Thank you, Jill. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you this evening. Thank you for joining in. So the particular role I've got at the moment is to chair a group called Hubs and Governance, where our responsibility, our objective is to try to make sure that we arrive in September with structures in place so that we can actually run the new district. So there are a number of strands to that. One is quite technical about what we do about merging 5 district charities at the moment into a single one. A little while back, we decided it'd be better to use one of our charities as a vehicle to receive the various assets and responsibilities from the other 4, and for that then to be renamed as the new North West England district. We felt it was better to go that way than shutting everything down and starting a brand new one, because we knew that would be a bit more costly and take a bit longer. So when you get to your spring synods, we will be having some resolutions in connection with that. That's the technical side. More generally, we need to make sure that in the 3 hubs that we're going to have, those hubs are a sort of collections or clusters of various functions and activities. One to do with administration and compliance, about how we make sure that the necessary underpinning stuff like property and human resources and finance are all put in place. Another one's to do with mission leadership, about how our outreach works, and the other is to do ministries and vocations. And each of those hubs have got different strands within them. And what we want to do is to pull some of those who are working in those activities in our present districts together, but also to be very clear that we want to be open to anyone who wants to be involved in those various activities. Think lots of sorts of things. Think chaplaincy, think about young people's work, think about probation and ministers, think about maybe city centre ministry, or rural ministry, all sorts of things like that. So to try and achieve that, what we have done, and hopefully it's reached all of you, again, it's this importance of cascading down our districts into our circuits, into our local churches, is to invite expressions of interest for people who might be willing to join in various activities. We wanted to do it that way, both to be as inclusive as possible, And also because actually we recognise we need to recruit safely to fulfil the safeguarding requirements. And part of that process will be just checking out that everybody's got the things that need to have in place. So we're very grateful for those who've responded. We've reviewed the offers, the expressions of interest from a number of people. It's not quite as many or as much as we'd hoped. We sort of predicted that would probably be the case because maybe some people are waiting to be asked or hadn't appreciated it might apply to them, or maybe understandably also want to step back after many years of service. So we're going to be following up both with those who have already offered, and then we'll think of other ways of trying to attract the contribution, the offer of those who may not have yet stepped forwards. And we'll be looking through that as a group in the weeks to come and corresponding with you as each bit works itself out. Where we're heading is so that some of those groups are pulled together, groups or networks or volunteer officers can all be in place, hopefully by September, but we will keep on recruiting until everybody is in place so that those groups and networks and officers can start their work in September. Although some, it might be quite helpful to bring people together in advance. One example of that is to do with safeguarding, where we're very pleased that our respective district safeguarding officers are already regularly meeting together in order to pull our policies together and our processes together and to make sure that there isn't a slip between cup and lip between now and when we start the new district. So that's an illustration, an indication of a pattern that we hope to involve many other areas of activity in the life of our districts together. So we're all ready to begin to work together in September. That's it, I think, Jill, for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, James. I'm now going to hand it over to Phil Goff, who's from the Mission Area subgroup.
Thank you very much, Jill, and thank you, James, for that. Good to see everybody this evening. Thank you very much for joining. The Mission Area subgroup has had a specific task in recent months of looking at the geography of the mission areas and agreeing or proposing the names for the mission areas. So the 5 districts become 1 district divided into 4 mission areas, which will be called Lancashire, Cumbria, Liverpool Plus, and Greater Manchester Plus. And each of those mission areas, we hope, will have a mission area lead or deputy chair. We've also been involved in looking through the job description and person spec for those mission area lead roles. And we'll maybe hear about those roles and their recruitment in the coming days and weeks. Key roles in our strategy. The work that we're doing at the moment is beginning to look at a mission plan for the new North West England district. And we're doing that by, first of all, gathering 5 different district mission plans. So each of our districts already has a mission plan. We're going to pull those together. We're going to spend some time looking at the similarities between them. Where are the common threads? And maybe some of the work that James has already alluded to, city centre ministries, rural ministries, school ministry, ministry with children and young people, ministry with the elderly, new places for new people, all the fresh expressions work. And mapping across the whole North West England district where our missional priorities are. I think there'll be a key date in the summer, late spring, early summer, yet to be decided, where the mission area subgroup with those mission area leads who will have been appointed by then, hopefully, and some others will gather for a day perhaps to really pour into what the mission plan for the new North West England district will look like, recognising this is going to be a lengthy transition period, and we're not putting things into stone, but we're beginning a framework from which all our mission activities will flow. So it's a great subgroup. I'm enjoying participating with others in that subgroup, and we appreciate your prayers and thank you for your commitment by being here tonight. I think that's all I need to say at the moment, Jill. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Phil. I'll hand over next to Andrew Lunn, and he's going to talk to us about the staffing subgroup.
Hello, everyone. So I'm representing a small group of us who are working on issues around staffing, and just going to report what we've done so far. First of all, to do with our district secretaries, our structure is going to involve 2 people working alongside James Tebbott as district secretaries, one as a district secretary for ministers and vocation, and one as a district secretary for administration and compliance. Those are 2 senior leadership posts, and we first of all worked on job descriptions, person specifications, and so on for those 2 roles. As a result, we had interviews held a couple of weeks ago, and Reverend Phil Goff, who you just heard from, was appointed as the District Secretary for Ministries and Vocation. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to appoint to the other post, so we are going to be re-advertising that one. The second area that we needed to pay attention to was our mission area leads. So each mission area will have a part-time presbyter working as a mission area lead. There'll also be deputy chairs. It's been decided that there'll be one for each mission area, except for Greater Manchester Plus, which will have 2. So there are 5 posts altogether. These are open to presbyters. And the application process has now happened. We've had 7 applicants for the 5 posts, and shortlisting has been done and interviews are in hand and will be happening in about a week or so's time. Although there is some unevenness about where the applicants come from. So we have some mission areas without applicants and some with more than we need. We also have needed, because some of those posts are presbyteral posts, ordained posts, we have also sought permission from the Connection Allowances Committee to give additional allowances for those roles. So we've now come to an agreement with the Connection Allowances Committee, and they're going to allow us to give a 20% allowance on top of stipend for the district secretary roles, and if they are ordained, and a 15% allowance for the mission area leads for those 5 who will all be presbyters. Now, the task that then remains for us to work on is really to do with all our other staff. As James has said, it's been decided that the new district will be formed by taking the charitable status of one district, that's Manchester and Stockport, which will change its name. That was mainly decided because Manchester and Stockport had one of the larger groups of employees and paid ordained roles. So all of the other employees of the other districts will need to be transferred by a legal process under what's called the Transfer of Undertakings Protection of Employment Regulations, some often just shortened to TUPE. We are having to formulate a plan for doing this, which will then have checked by the connectional HR team before being taken for legal advice with an employment solicitor, and we will then take that to the staff to consult with them on the plan before it's put into effect. Alongside that, there'll also be a process of redeployment. There are 2 groups of employees who will be affected differently by this. And I'd include within that, although they're not employees, but would include within some of this the paid ordained district staff as well, who will have their situation transferred over to the new district. But reviews will be needed of all of those posts in due course. First of all, there are the group of workers who are in missional projects, the paid staff associated with those. They will all be carried over into the new district. We've made an undertaking that funding will continue for the period that the predecessor districts have planned. So often money has been put aside, say, from the District Advance Fund for those sorts of projects. And then the new district will then undertake reviews in future years when that point comes, when the predecessor districts would have been doing those reviews anyway. So nothing will really change for those people. They'll be transferred over, and those projects will continue through to the point of their normal review. And then there's the core district staff posts. This includes 4 groups of workers: the safeguarding officers, our property officers, communications officers, and our administration staff. They're all going to be reviewed immediately as we form the new district. Existing staff will have the chance, once we've reviewed those posts, to be considered first for those posts in the new district before any external recruitment happens. But we're at a very early stage in that. We're hoping to go out to the staff for consultation on all of that in a couple of months' time, hopefully end of April, beginning of May. And our hope is that redundancies will only happen if we're unable to find other solutions based on redeployment. So we've got quite a bit of work to do around that. And I think we all need to be aware of some of the pressures and tensions which our staff will be feeling at the moment. And I ask your prayers for them.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I'll now hand over to Gary Naden.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm on the finance subgroup. Our chair is Cheryl Anderson, Reverend Cheryl Anderson, the chair of Liverpool District, and there are the 5 district treasurers on the group, and I'm one of those treasurers for Manchester and Stockport, and I also work part-time for TCC. The main items that we've covered to date in our group, we've reviewed the last full year's accounts, 22-23, and done a consolidation of the 5 district budgets for the year we're in now, 23-24, to provide us with a baseline for doing a budget for the whole district, new district, for 24-25. We've gone ahead and constructed that budget, presented it to the RRG, and at this stage, not everything is in fine detail, but we have costed up all of the plans that have been described to you so far by the other groups, especially the staffing plans, to make absolutely sure that we can afford those plans and we have a full, financial plan for them. We've determined what the district assessment will be for each circuit for next year. It's too early to agree a formula at this stage, so we agreed that it would be every circuit's current year assessment plus 2.3%. In real terms, that's actually a decrease because inflation, particularly Methodist Church inflation for stipends and lay workers, is over 6% at September 24. And this also honours the commitment to circuits that the new district will be at or better than cost neutral. It's also worth remembering that only about 15% of the district assessment is retained by the district to help towards core costs. The rest we collect on behalf of the connection. We have reviewed the status of our district advance funds in each district, and we've projected the position to September 24 that we will inherit, including the various commitments that there are and may arise between now and then. We've reviewed the financial status of our new projects for new people efforts across the board, which are generally still at an early stage, and we have reviewed the levels of the reserves, particularly general reserves, that we will be taking into the new district to ensure that we haven't got any issues there. The main items that we're working on at the moment, or need to be worked on, there has been agreement in principle that TCC will provide the financial reporting and transaction processing service to the Northwest District. They already do that for Lancashire and Manchester and Stockport. And what now needs to happen is a detailed specification of exactly what TCC will provide in this new structure, alongside the role of a volunteer treasurer and the district secretary with responsibility for admin and compliance, which has some financial responsibility under that role. We're then going to, we've started the planning for integration of numerous financial processes and tasks. Examples: payroll, expenses policy and claims, authorization levels, pensions, man's costs, leases, direct debits and standing orders, the accounting system we'll use, the reports to be produced, amalgamation of bank, CFB and TMCP accounts, and the requirement for an audit. And finally, we will continue to work closely with the other subgroups, as there is a high overlap to finance, especially with the staffing group and the property group. That's my update. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Gary. And next, I'll hand over to Stephanie Rue from the property group. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm part of the property subgroup. Carolyn Halbersall is the chair, and the group has three of the district property secretaries in the group. And Abby Farr is also part of that group. We've met a few times now, and what we've done is created a list of all the district-owned properties in each district into one list, and TMCP are confirming that they have the same properties on their lists. And we have been looking at the manses, at what is available, and at this stage we don't know exactly what will be needed, but what we do know is that James will be remaining in his manse for at least the first year, and Phil will be remaining in his manse. Andrew's manse will become vacant, and we will need to make decisions about what happens to that one, as the Bolton and Rochdale manse will possibly be used for the Bolton circuit. That is still being negotiated, and the Liverpool manse will also become vacant, and that is needing some work, and decisions will need to be made about whether that will be sold or upgraded. There are a number of offices around the 5 current districts, and those we haven't really worked on that yet. I think that will be, when more staffing decisions have been made, those decisions can be looked at. And there are other properties as well that are under the district's control, or partly under the district's control. The staffing group have also asked that the property subgroup look at the DPS role, job description and person spec. And so we are working on that at the moment, to pass that on to the staffing group. And I think that's all we've done so far.